Right, looks like we're up and running. Let's see. Here we go, welcome everybody to the final race of the season, ACC's 5th season here in ALR. We have a few, well, just a couple actually, 2 out of 3 of the classes have a pretty spicy championship battle going on, so just a reminder what happened last week. Morrow and Scanlon both disconnected. Davey ended up winning the race to take a huge chunk out of Morrow's lead, as we see Burkhart in the wall there. Let's try and find someone else to follow around for a little bit. So let me just find where they were saying about the title chances. It's quite an interesting one. So really, for Bomber to win the championship tonight, he needs to win. Morrow has to finish outside the top 5. Davey needs to finish outside the top. Yeah, well, and basically Davey needs to finish 2nd or 3rd. So if those things happen, Scanlon can win. Davey and Morrow are pretty close together in terms of points, and with it being double points, potentially the victor out of those two would win. There might have to be a couple of positions in it for Davey. And then in bronze, it's very close between Sanchez and Van Hall. Apparently there's 1.5 points difference between them, so absolutely whoever beats the other between Van Hall and Sanchez is the winner today. Sanchez in 12th, outperforming Van Hall, at least in this qualifying, but take these times with a pinch of salt because it was definitely quicker earlier on, and then the rain has started coming down. Practice just ending now. And then in bronze, just quickly, we've got Andy Cabras. I think he is all but assured the win unless something pretty impossible happens. I'm pretty sure Rotikos isn't racing today either, so that was one of his closest rivals in the championship, not there to bring the fight to him. So qualifying's over. We're just waiting for the last people to finish the laps. Number 243 is the last person on track. Let's have a little look at them. It's actually Dan. Hasn't set a time in practice. Won't be a quick one, obviously. He's in the McLaren. I think he's not been around for a couple of weeks as well. So let's see what Dan can do on his return. We've also got BX back again. BX showing incredible pace at the end of last week. He's 2nd in practice, just behind Scanlon. But again, not very representative, but we know that he's got the opportunity to get his first ACC win today and be the first person in ALR to win both a Tier 1 race and the overall ACC race as well. So that would be quite the achievement. We've got Slim here, Coldman, who also could be doing that. And we've also got Tidswell, Big Beaver. They are the other 2 drivers who have Tier 1 wins on the grid tonight. So yeah, any one of them could get that record. I think it would be quite a major achievement if to be the very first person to do that. Qualifying's getting underway. Number 27 is out first. It is wet in the qualifying, so we'll have to see what happens. It looks like it's gonna well, the weather's going to change in about 10 minutes time. I don't know if that means it's going to be heavier rain or not, because there's only 1 cloud instead of 2 clouds. So I don't know what that means. But at the moment, the track is damp, which means, yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on the what the track is saying, because damp isn't too bad. You can get away with damp and still push the car fairly well. This is the 2nd time we've raced at Spa in the last few weeks, actually, because we did the charity race here and it rained there as well. That time Scanlon was supremely quick there and took the victory. So he could do that again today. It's exactly what he needs to do if he's going to be winning the championship. He's got a tall order, unfortunately. He disconnected, got the points for like 30th place or something like that as a result. Let's see who else we've got tonight. We'll stick with Peter because he's still the lead driver on track. So lots of gold drivers on the grid. Cabras, Freddie Cabras, Oliver's there. Weston, Steenstra, Morrow, obviously our championship leader and defending champion. Spectre going back at it again. Davey looking for a good performance in the wet, Freiburgl and Paris. Then we've got the silver, Maurer, we've got Tierney, we've got Andy Cabras, the leader, Dandes, who won bronze last season. Pretty solid in silver, but I don't think he's been challenging. Then we got Salis in there for the ART team, and O'Leary's back again, nice to see. And then in bronze we got Sanchez, Burkhart, Van Hall, Blocker, Chaos, and Bayliss, and Kane, Longworth, and Fracas. And then we got two reserves by the looks at BX Royal, and we've got Slim as well. So he's just started his first hot lap, has Peter, just took the first chicane. So let's ride on board with him and see how he goes. The number 53 has brought out the yellow flags there just in Eau Rouge, so hopefully that's not penalised him too much. He was 53, that's Burkhart, so we've seen him in the walls a couple of times. I saw him in the wall in practice as well, I think just before I started streaming. This is a brutal race to end on, especially with a longer race, because I don't know, it's a weird track to keep the tyre temperatures operating. At least it was when we raced here in Season 1. This was the final race of Season 1 as well, and it was brutal on tyre management for me, which wasn't a problem in any of the other tracks. And that's when it wasn't raining. They've got to factor the weather in to this as well. Hopefully they've all got a setup for the wet, because it looks like it's not going anywhere. So pretty neat and tidy lap here from Peter so far. A little bit on the grass there on the exit, but that won't have cost him any time. There's another driver off ahead of him, number 82. Who's that? That's Weston. He's had to reset himself to pits. So we're going to have a little bit more of a wait, and then everyone is going to start flying round. So he's kept it on track. That's the main thing. You want to put in a pretty solid banker lap. I think there's going to be a massive field spread here tonight as well, because it's a long track anyway, but with this rain, I think there's going to be different levels of preparedness. Quite a few spins. I mean, number 77 now has brought out the yellow flags. That is Andy Cabras, so he's struggling on his first hot lap. Number 22's done the same. So everyone is starting to spin a little bit further down the grid. But Peter's kept it on track. It looks like a pretty solid lap here for Peter. So let's see. He's just coming into the bus stop chicane now. Around the final corner in the Ford Mustang. Let's see how it is in the rain. He's going to pop himself into P1, obviously, a 225.6. Following him is Freddie Cabras, who is only 0.3 down, so pretty close. Tidswell's going to be next in the Ferrari. He was P2 last week in the race, and he's popped himself, actually is about a second down on Peter. Then we got Freddie Cabras up into, Sally, sorry, up into 5th. Capel just ahead of him. And we got Morrow taking provisional pole as it stands. He's on 25.2. Quicker than Andy Winters, who's 1.8 down. And then we've got Regnix just crossing the line now. He's popped himself up into 5th. I can't find these drivers quick enough. Paris is coming up to the line now. He's popped himself up into 11th, 4.7 seconds down. Then we have, let's see, where is Scanlon? Scanlon's just coming up to the bus stop. Let's watch what he does. Excuse me. So we've got a whole host of drivers just crossing. Sanchez only in 12th place. Tierney pops himself into the top 10. Dandes is in 12th. Weatherston's up into 4th, and Scanlon on his first lap is just ahead of Weston. So, top 5. BX Royal, who puts it all the way ahead of even Morrow there by almost a tenth of a second. 25.1. He's slowing down by the looks of things. Maybe he's going to reset to pits. Morrow certainly has. Peter is back in the pits as well. So we're seeing a lot of drivers only doing the one lap and then resetting. Let's watch Spectre. He's just, oh wow, very wide there. think you can get away with it. It might have invalidated. We'll have to wait and see. I doubt it'll have invalidated. So Spectre crossed the line. Ah, it did invalidate him. Okay, there we go. Bayliss just started a lap, it looks like. Number 227. Who is that? That's Freivogel. What's Freivogel going to do? Is very wide coming out of the bus stop. Actually, he's gone into the pits. No, he hasn't. He's carried on. And he is just starting his lap. Maybe he was trying to get that wide exit from the final corner to get a little bit more speed on the straight. Andy Cabras has gone to start a new lap as well. We saw he was in the wars a little bit, and that was just his out lap. I think that's the same for Freddie. Actually, Freddie's popped himself up into third now. No, he was already there, so he didn't improve on that lap. Number 7 is Andy Winters. He's still out in the Mustang. So 2 Mustangs in the top 7 at the moment. Let's see if Andy can improve. Doesn't look like the rain's going anywhere. He's 1.8 seconds off now. And it doesn't look like he improved either. 57. BX is about to set another lap. I think he might have just been on a slow lap though, so I don't think this is going to improve. So some of these drivers look like they're just resetting to pits and going straight back out, and some of them look like they're on cooldown laps. Burkhardt up into 19th, 4.8 off the pace. So like I said, the field spread is pretty massive, only the top 5 separated by a second at the moment. Sanchez just set a new lap, he's up to 15th. And I'm just trying to see, it looks like Morrow is coming round now. In a big gaggle of cars. Is he going to improve? Nope. Scanlon just behind. Also doesn't improve. He's fallen down a position or two, down at 6th now, because Weatherston's popped himself up to 4th. Capale down in 11th. Let's see if he can improve. Goes a bit deep into the final corner. He's 2.1 down at the moment. And yeah, another one who doesn't improve. Let's see where everyone is on the track just quickly to try and... Everyone's a little bit far up on the track actually. They're all in this little gaggle of cars if you look at the minimap. So, we'll stick with BX. He's at the head of this big pack, which includes everyone who's trying to set a lap. We've got 10 minutes left, and he's made a huge mistake there. He's not going to be improving. Just passing him now is Freddie. Freddie's got to find 4/10. Andy Cabras finally set to first lap. He's down in 18th though still. So I'm sure he can find a lot more pace than that. Very tough conditions though. This is looking pretty good lap for Cabras. Last couple of corners, he's got Andy Winters right behind him as well, so Andy might be able to beat his time. We've not seen anyone really improve in the top 10 in a couple of minutes. So Freddie doesn't improve. Andy doesn't improve either. Peter doesn't improve. Then we've got Morrow just coming up to the bus stop now. So no one improving. Is the rain a little bit too bad for the track? Have the conditions worsened a little bit too much? Everyone's still trying. Oh, here we go. Here's the improvement we've been waiting for. 25 flat for Morrow. So there is still time there. Scanlon's popped up into P3 as well, so we're starting to get going now. Tidswell just coming to the line. Doesn't improve himself. Then we've got... who have we got coming up? I can't even see. No one from the front runners, so let's just go further back and see. We've got Weston struggling down in 25th. He's just set a lap and he's gone straight on. We've got Coldman trying to set a lap time here. He's a long way back at the moment. 9.1 seconds. He's not set a good lap in that Ford just yet. Chaos still trying to set a hot lap as well. So back at the top, where is everybody? Freddie might be at the head of the pack. Actually, it looks like Reg is at the head of the pack. Regnick's up into 8th at the moment. Well, we're used to seeing him in qualifying, but this is a good opportunity to get a top quality result. Because mistakes keep happening. You can see people making small mistakes going off track, abandoning laps. Yellow flags seem to be out, at least in one zone at any point at the moment. So we're going to have a bit of a chaotic race for sure. Andy Cabras bringing out the L's as well in turn 1. Only 7 minutes left, so this quali is going pretty quickly. What's Reg up to? Last corner, looks pretty neat and tidy. And it's not an improvement. What about Andy? Andy just coming up to the line, and just ahead of him is Freddie Cabras, actually. So Freddie doesn't improve. Winters doesn't improve either. Davey, again, no improvement. Tierney's up into 13th. He's just crossing the line. He stays 13th as well. No improvement for him. Morrow, are we going to see another hot lap for Morrow? No, it looks like he is going into the pits there. This is going to be a tricky pit lane for these guys. Burkhardt is just coming up now. Can he improve on his P23? Not this time. Freivogel still with no representative time yet. And yeah, he's just starting a lap, so he must keep abandoning his laps to have not even an incredibly slow lap on the cards. Let's have a look at Sanchez, our bronze leader. He is currently on pole for bronze class here. Scanlon doesn't improve, just ahead of him, and he doesn't improve either. What's BX Royal up to? Is he out on track? He is. Just heading into the final sector now. Andy Cabras just popped himself up to 16th, I think that was. So some of them are finding improvements, a lot of them aren't. Still, the track is still saying it's damp though. Steenstra is just coming up ahead of BX, but we'll stick with BX through the bus stop. Steenstra finds half a second, but doesn't actually improve his time. Now here's BX. Yep, no improvement for him. Capel doesn't look like he's improved either. Andy Cabras, 16th. And stays 16th as well. Reg for one more. He's just pounding in the laps. He does improve by a single position. Gains 3/10 there, up into P8. Now, here's Andy Winters struggling down in 10th. 1.8 off. He only needs to find a 10th to at least lift himself a single position, but he does find 3/10, and he's only slightly behind Reg at the moment. Davey crossing the line, it doesn't improve. Tidswell stays 11th. Tierney at the head of a little group of cars here. He's 14th now. I've got Peter once again. No improvement for him. Freddie. Up in P4, stays P4. So yeah, I haven't seen a proper improvement, especially in the top 8, for quite a while. It looks like it can be there though. I mean, Andy's time was 1.4 off. Here comes Morrow again. Provisional pole at the moment, 25 flat like we said. Sanchez improves to P14 now. Bayliss up into P16 as well. Morrow, no improvement this time around. Let's have a look at Bayliss. He's just peeling off into the pits. Dan Paris, only in 20th place. Struggling a little bit, I think. Second season syndrome, is that a thing in ACC? Here we go, P20, and he rises a single position. He did find a good chunk of time though, to be fair to him. It's just the field spread down, this far down, is pretty big. Reg looks like he's had a little bit of traffic this lap. Clatters the curb on the inside of the bus stop. Comes around the final corner. Stays 8th. Can Andy respond and pop it back into the top 8? Seems to be the only one improving in the top 10 at the moment. No, he doesn't find an improvement that time. What about Davey? Davey's not improved for quite a while. We've only got 2 minutes left. This might be the start of the final lap for these guys. No improvement for Davey. Potentially only has a single lap left to find something. So Freddie might have timed it slightly better. Still, yeah, no improvements. No improvements going on. Peter skidding through these corners. It must be pretty close to... they must all be fairly close to their pace, though, because, well, loads of them are actually in the pits. So maybe that's an indication. Some of these guys, maybe they're just getting some screen time, getting some practice in on the wet, but not finding many improvements here. Yep, a non-improvement there for Peter. What about Morrow? Provisional pole. He does find an improvement, so there is definitely time in the track. He's got one more chance. He's got a 4/10 lead on BX. BX is only just through the first sector now. Here comes Scanlon. He's dropped almost half a second back on Morrow now. That's an incredible lap from Morrow, by the way. 24.7. No improvement for Scanlon that time. Capel in P10. I think he'll be moderately happy with a P10. He stays there. Let's have a look at Davey. We're at 0 now. Qualifying's finished. These are the last laps for everybody. You can see Stevenson, Reg, Danders, Sanchez, Thierry all in the pits already from the top guys. Andy just ahead of Davey, so we'll see if he can improve for P9. He does not improve. Davey, 8/10 down at the moment. And it looks like he's stopped even before the finish line there. So, no improvement for Davey. And Cabras, he's 3.1 seconds down at the moment. And he's gone incredibly wide there. So I think that's going to be his final attempt done with. What about Freivogel all the way down in 21st? So keep an eye on Andy, who's in P17 currently. But Freivogel really struggling, 3.6 seconds down. We're used to seeing him on the front row. And he does improve. He's in the top 20, 3.3 seconds down now. Morrow is the next man to cross the line. He's already pretty much assured a pole position. BX is in the pits now. He hasn't been able to improve. Scanlon's still out on track though. So is this another improvement for Morrow? No, not this time, but I think he'll be pretty pleased with how that's gone. Scanlon is the closest person to, well, he's just gone wide there as well. Maybe that has invalidated his lap. Definitely invalidated Andy's because he retired. Andy Cabras went back into the pits after he went wide there, but Scanlon's kept it going, so potentially something salvageable from this lap. And it's not an improvement. Capel's next up. Looks like he's almost assured a place in the top 10. He's got, well, actually, he's improved to 8th. So that is a very good final lap for Capel. It looks like Spectre's going to be the final person to cross the start-finish line in his BMW. He's just been muscled down into 20th by Dan. So Dan was up into 15th with a very late attempt there. So a better result for him. What about Spectre? Is this an improvement? It is up into P11, 1.8 seconds off. So that is an impressive time there for Spectre. So let's have a quick look at the timetables. Morrow on pole ahead of BX Scanlon. So top 3, no surprise there. Freddie Cabras doing really well. Davey might be disappointed with 5th. Peter in 6th, 1.2 seconds down already on the pole time. Then we got Steenstra, Capel, Reg, and Andy Winters in silver class. Salis on pole ahead of Dandes and Tierney. In bronze class, ignore BX there. Sanchez is on pole ahead of Bayliss and Burkhart. Not a great qualifying for Van Hall. He's got a lot of work to do if he's going to finish ahead of Sanchez, but we know, especially down in bronze, anything could happen at any point of the race. So these guys are going to sort qualifying out. I will be right back. Alright, looks like we've got 45 seconds left before we start our formation lap. Let's do some predictions. So, I did ask in the chat earlier today who they thought their favourites were going to be for the title. So let's go and see what the results of that were. So we said, who is winning the championship tonight? Morrow, Davey or Bomber, the 3 championship contenders. Morrow, 11 people voted for. Davey, 4 people voted for. And Bomber, 7 people actually voted for. So quite an even spread. Morrow definitely the favourite, mathematically and in the eyes of these guys. I think everyone voting for Bomber is rooting for the underdog in terms of the points. But yeah, he's up in P3. If Morrow has a mistake somewhere, Scanlon only needs to overtake BX Royal and potentially wins the title. Especially if Davey struggles to carve his way through the pack as well. Silver Salis has pole, which is it's not Andy for or Eroticos for one of the first times this season for sure. Oh, okay. Interesting. So, suddenly, the weather is beautiful. We have a green track, 9-degree temperature, so I take back what I said about it being beautiful. This is going to be incredibly difficult for tyre management. So, yeah, these guys better have done their homework on tyre pressures, because if they start going off evening Gillies, yeah, if they start going off, they're just going to be sliding off track. That's what happened to me on my very first race round here. Just couldn't get the tyre temperatures right, couldn't keep the tyres warm, and then it's like you're on an ice rink, essentially. So, interesting that we had a fully wet qualifying, and it looks like, at least for the first 30 minutes, that's all we can see, it's going to be a dry race. We've got a Ferrari on pole, then we've got two Aston Martins, P2 and 3. And then another Ferrari in P4. Then the lead Lamborghini is 5th, lead Ford Mustang is 6th. The lead BMW is 9th. The lead McLaren is only in 15th. Then we got the one Lexus down in P29 and the one AMG down in P31. So I don't know if that's a bit of a stinker of a car, the AMG, under these BOP settings. The BOP settings, I have been told, are going to be changing next season. Not sure what this is going to be changing to, but I think the Ferrari deserves a nerf. I actually suggested that the top 3 cars in the championship get some sort of weight ballast next season to try and even out the playing field. So give Ferrari a little bit, well, a fair nerf, give the Aston and give the Lambo little nerfs as well, just to encourage a little bit of variety next season, because, you know, half the grid is Ferrari at the moment. Actually, the top 5 would all, in theory, get a nerf from qualifying if that were to happen. But yeah, I was just spitballing. I don't make the decisions here. So yeah, the top 12 all gold drivers. Obviously, Andy Cabras is going to get promoted into a gold driver. Maybe Eroticos as well. I'm not too sure about Salis. Maybe we'll see if he can keep up this P13 in the wet quali in the race and put his name out there. Not too sure who would end up getting demoted, because basically all the gold drivers are capable of top 5 finishes in the right conditions. But they don't have probably top 5 pace, everybody. But you know what happens in these races. Crazy things. Looks like Sanchez is going to be at least in silver as well. I don't think he's ready for gold, to be honest, yet. But he's definitely improved a lot, even though he's been at the front since the start. You've never seen anyone demoted from gold? Capel was for a single race, and then he was promoted again. We'll have to wait and see what we do with the lobbies as well. But I'll talk about that a little bit later, because we are about to finally get going. The longest formation lap in history. Morrow once again on pole position. Lining up right next to BX Roll. BX is going to have to go round the outside into turn 1, which might be a little bit tricky. We are starting on the actual pit straight, and not just before Eau Rouge, which is another option. So it could get spicy into turn 1, or are we actually going to keep going round? Actually, right, okay. I was waiting for the bloody start light, and we're not quite there yet. Round the corner goes Morrow. Still waiting for the last few guys to turn around. Looks like everyone actually made the pit box for the first time in a while, so that's good to see. Now get ready for some carnage. We're going to be going side by side through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and it is green. 1.5 hours begins now Everyone's still lining up in formation side by side. Looks like Morrow got a slightly better start. BX just tucks in behind him for now. Everyone looked like they got through Eau Rouge and Radion. Here comes the last few cars. A little bit of contact there between somebody. Couldn't see who that was. We'll find out when the split. So a bad start for somebody, but BX Royal tucking in behind Morrow, not able to get the move done. Looks like there's another Ferrari right behind them. We have to wait for everyone to bloody come through. It looks like Freddie Cabras is ahead of Scanlon, so a good start for Freddie as well. So it is Ferrari, Aston at the moment. Peter up ahead of Davey as well, so Davey losing a position there. Now we've got Capale in 7th, battling with Steenstra. Looks like he just lost that position. Oh, there's been a huge incident there, and somehow Andy, I think that was, completely turning around there and got saved. A lot of contact in this little field of drivers. Capale moving to block off Steenstra there, and it looks like Regnix is in the mix as well. They're both going side by side and making loads of contact as well. Not used to seeing this much contact in ACC. They're all a little bit more cautious than what we're used to see, but this is the start of a 1.5 hour race. At the front, Morrow still ahead of BX by about 0.3 of a second. BX keeping him pretty honest here. So, definitely in the hunt. Went a little bit wide on that corner compared to Morrow, and Morrow eked out a bit, potentially a car length there. It was Bayliss who has had a problem. He's dropped all the way to the back of the field. Here we go. Into the bus stop. The gap is around about 0.4 of a second. Morrow looking a bit comfortable. BX has gone incredibly deep, as has Cabras. Freddie Cabras going deep. Everyone going deep. Scanlon actually keeps it on the track. Freddie completely cutting that corner, having to lift off as a result because he'd have gained a lot of time there. BX definitely didn't gain time. He's now 1.5 behind Morrow. So this is huge for Morrow. Morrow is the absolute favourite to win this championship as it stands. Weatherston down in, well, up into 4th, managing to get past Scanlon in all that drama. So yeah, maybe Bomber's not going to be too happy with how that bus stop went. Looked like a lot of drivers went deep and he didn't, but he's the one that lost out. Capale looks like he's pretty... he's got Steenstra really close behind him. Oh, and there's been contact. Steenstra tagged Capale. Capale's in the wall. It looks like someone else was in the wall as well. Steenstra's carried on. Spectre's carried on. It's Tidswell, who finished on the podium last week, who has completely binned it as well. So Capale and Steenstra are going to drop... No, sorry, not Steenstra. Tidswell are going to drop like a stone here. BX already caught 2 seconds back up in tomorrow. So he's got a lot of work to do. But definitely seems like he's got the pace. A little bit further down, Salis is still leading for silver. He's just been promoted up to 11th with all the drama. Sanchez up into 12th for bronze. So really solid starts for these guys. Freivogel down into 16th with a very battered car. He's been in the wars in this race. Andy Cabras with a really bad car as well. So these are two ARTs that are struggling at the moment in the lower reaches of the top 20. Coldman down in 19th, trying to make some progress as well. Got Mustang ahead of him. Maurer up, pretty decent for Maurer. Haven't seen him in the top 20 too much recently. Capale down into 25th after that issue. Tidswell down into 29th. No one's had to come into the pits yet though. Crucially, everyone has stayed out. BX is now only a second behind Morrow. And here we go. Scanlon actually managed to get past Davey. Now he's trying to get past Freddie Cabras. So Scanlon on an absolute charge on this lap, and he's got the move done already. So electric pace on this lap for Scanlon. And Freddie goes deep again. Oh no, sorry, that was Davey who went deep. Or was it Freddie? I can't see. But anyway, Freddie has lost that position to Davey. So Davey stays 4th. He started the lap in 4th. He ends the lap in 4th. But Scanlon up in 3rd now. 2.5 seconds down. BX is within a second of Morrow. BX has the pace. He absolutely has the pace to win this today. Long way to go though. We're only 5 minutes in. That's crazy. Looking at the field spread after just 5 minutes of racing. 2.5 seconds separate BX and Scanlon. So can Scanlon start to reel in the top two? He doesn't really have any choice but to do so. So he's going to have to be pushing as if it was a qualifying lap every single lap of this race. He is closing. He's closed by a tenth in that sector. Driving very smoothly. Let's see if there's any battling going on. Andy holding up Steenstra. Now Steenstra was stuck behind Capel and he's already caught up to the back of Andy. Peter down in 8th, Spectre 9th, and Reg is in 10th still. His car, crucially for this stage of the race, doesn't look like it's got any damage on it at all. So there's been a lot of melee in this part of the field, and he's got away unscathed, which is a victory in itself to get through there. Now you can focus on your pace. Paris, good start for Paris up into 13th as well. Coldman's struggling. He has got past Oliver, but now he's going to have to track down Andy Cabras and overtake him. BX closing again on Morrow, and he's gone wide again. That's how hard he's pushing. So he's probably going to lose a couple of tenths for going a little bit wide onto that corner. I think he's using the full width of the track. Morrow's definitely not doing it at that section, and it seems to work out a little bit better for Morrow. But look at this. BX definitely reeled in Morrow quite a lot on that straight. Final corner. That's a beautiful exit. So he only loses a tenth there from that big mistake because it's the rest of the time he's just too quick there. Scanlon did gain only 2 tenths that lap on BX. And BX had that mistake as well, which cost him probably 2 tenths. Scanlon's dropped Davey. Davey's dropped Freddie. Freddie's dropped Andy. Andy's got this huge train of cars behind him. This is going to be spicy into Eau Rouge. He's got the damage, that's why. Look at the damage on the front of that car. I think that was with the Capel incident. He might have bumped someone, but managed to get away with not losing time. Steve's just going to come on the outside here. And he's ahead before the corner, and he does give him the space. And Steve's just still just ahead, gets the move completed there. Good overtake for Steenstra. Oh, Andy's going to come back actually. There we go. I think that's it pretty much completed now. Someone kicking up dust there. I think that was Freddie. He's dropped 2 seconds behind Davey now. And yeah, Morrow and Scanlon both starting to drive away from... Morrow and BX, sorry, both starting to drive away from Scanlon. So, let's take stock of where we are. Something's happened to Sanchez. Where is Sanchez? Sanchez is in the pits right now. He's decided to come in. He was the lead driver in bronze class, and he's going very slowly through the pits, just coming to a stop as well. He's going to be a lap down on the entire grid potentially, or at least half of it. So this is an absolute disaster for Sanchez. He does have to finish ahead of Van Hall. Where's Van Hall right now? Van Hall is only in 26th, so he could still potentially come out ahead of him because he's only just started the third sector now. So it's not the end of the world, and this could potentially be Sanchez's mandatory stop, but I think he might need to make another before the end of the race. So looking good for Van Hall, at least in closing the gap there. Oh, someone was completely off track. It was a red car. I think it was Tidswell. Once again, look at that car. I'm surprised it's even running. That is a damaged car. Look at the rear wing. It's all wonky. He's going to have to come into the pits now as well. Is that Bayliss behind him? No, Bayliss managed to get away with it. He's got loads of damage though as well. Alright, let's go back to the top. BX is now completely caught up to the back of Morrow. So, Morrow's clearly made a mistake because the gap was 4/10 through the first sector, and now the gap is definitely maybe 3/10. So BX doing a fantastic job in closing the gap on Morrow after that earlier little mistake going deep into the bus stop. I think it was on lap 1 or lap 2. So that 1.5 seconds, it's completely gone, and Morrow's going to start feeling the pressure in a way that he hasn't felt very much this season, to be honest. He's been quite dominant, which is a surprise that he doesn't have more of a lead in the championship, to be fair. BX doesn't care about any of that. He's only in his second race, new to the game, actually teaching everyone a bit of a lesson here. BX obviously has insane pace on racing games, and is proving that it doesn't matter which game it is, he's going to be one of the quickest. What do they say? You need like 1,000 hours to become an expert in something. I think that's the phrase that people say, and BX just picks it up. Yeah, no, just gonna beat everyone just for fun. This is his third race in 4 days as well. He raced on Sunday in esports, raced on Monday in GT7 Monday League. Now he's here. This might be his best performance out of the 3 as well. So I asked about drop rounds. Apparently there's no drop round this season. Otherwise I wouldn't even be guessing who's going to be winning. I can't do that kind of calculations with the drop round off the top of my head. But yeah, no, I know the drop round they decided to get rid of. I don't know when. Potentially for this season. Morrow doing really well here, by the way. He's holding back BX. He's not actually made a single mistake since he's been caught. But he isn't driving as quick as he was. Scanlan's closing in on him. Scanlan's completely dropped Davey. And then Steenstra hasn't driven away from Winters like I thought he would. So he's dropped to 5 seconds off of Davey. And yeah, him and Andy have dropped Freddie. Freddie Cabras struggling a little bit today compared to what we're used to seeing. He's usually in the top 5 at a minimum, but there's a long way to go, potentially just managing his tyres, not too worried about not being the quickest on the track. Spectre looking pretty racy today, nice to see. Peter down in 9th, Reg is just a solid 10th, a good 6 seconds ahead of Dan Paris. Almost everyone is still on the lead lap. Sanchez is out, but he's in last place. A good, well, he's 154 seconds behind Blocker, it looks like. Let's just see what that turns into. Two seconds. Okay, so he's actually not a lap down, Sanchez. So good news, everyone is still on the lead lap. Tidswell in the pits as well, so I'm not sure. Well, actually, we know what happened to Tidswell, and we know what happened to Capel, why they're both in the pits. But they are making actual pit stops. So they're carrying on. BX dropped back to 1.2 behind now, so he's made a little mistake somewhere. Spectre seems to have overtaken Peter there. So that was a good overtake. Unfortunately we missed. Like I said, he was looking racy, and now he's got 2 seconds to close down on Andy Winters. Looks like he's completely dropped Peter through Eau Rouge as well. It looks like a closer battle's going on ahead between these two. Andy trying to get this position back, and it would now be a position in the top 5. The drop round was dropped. That's appropriate. To be fair, I didn't like the drop round rule personally. I know it's helpful for people who can't make every round. My preference would be everyone just makes every round. Yeah, so no real overtakes happening. I don't think anyone's being overly racy at this stage. Coldman trying to make progress still. He's got one more silver driver to overtake before it's just gold drivers from then on ahead of him. Remember, Coldman finished a really solid P2 in Laguna at the start of the season. Right up there with the fastest guys. I think a top 5 is still on the cards for Coldman as well. We know he's got the pace for it. You can see there's a couple of Fords in the top 8 as well, so it's not off the pace as a car. I do wonder how much setup sharing goes on, because this isn't really a team championship. There aren't any teams. You've got like 3 Fords, but or 4 Fords, but there's not much connection between all 4 of them. Here we go. Here's the move. Oh, he's not able to get alongside enough. He's going to try and get a better bus stop. It's difficult to stay close through the bus stop though, with how slow the cars end up going. But he is still fairly close. I think a move could be coming on the next straight here. Coldman trying to scare Salis out of the position, and there's been contact. Oh dear. It looked like one of them lost a little bit of traction, and there was a little bit of a coming together there. Didn't really cost them much. Cabras lurking in the background, but he was 1.6 seconds behind Slim. So he's going to have to recover a little bit here. 243. That's Paris. Paris is off. Paris was doing so well. He was in P11. He's gone off at Eau Rouge. And he's just getting going now. Here comes Freivogel, who's down in 16th. So he's lost at least 5 places. Make that potentially 7 or 8 by the time the next corner comes. He is back up to speed, but look how damaged his car is. His front bonnet is flapping a little bit. So down to P17. It was such a good start, but this is going to keep happening as the race wears on. So we have to keep an eye out on the mini-map for the yellow flags. Who was number 95? He's got a big train of cars behind him. That is Coldman. Oh, okay, we've been watching this anyway. Coldman at the head of this now. He's managed to get past Salis. So he's got 11 seconds to try and catch up to Reg now. He's got to put his foot down. This clearly was holding him back. Andy might want to try and get past his teammate and countryman as well fairly soon. And there's Burkhardt as well. So that guy's leading bronze fairly comfortably today. .3 seconds. Let's have a quick check-in at the top. Mora's looking a lot more comfortable now. BX has dropped to over a second behind. He's lapping very similarly paced to Morrow. He's actually got the fastest lap of the race. Scanlon's dropped a huge amount of time somewhere. I wish we had a replay to see what happened. He's behind Weatherston. He's 4.9 behind Weatherston. He's only half a second ahead of Steenstra now. Under a lot of pressure. Potentially was a mistake at the bus stop. That's usually where we see it. Now he's struggling on for straight line speed, so potentially has damage to his car as well, because that is quite a surrender of the position, which I think if you've got a healthy car, you're not giving up that easy. We might be seeing an early pit stop for one of our championship contenders. So if I was Scanlon, yeah, he's dropping back. I'm coming into the pits this lap. If I was Morrow and BX gets close enough, I'm just giving that position up. I do not want to be fighting with someone who's got nothing to lose when I have everything to lose. And also a big cushion to Davey. I don't think Davey's in too good a position. Even though he's in P3 right now, Morrow would have to drop off or have a big issue, which battling with BX would potentially give him. for Davey to have a better shout today. So yeah, it's still looking good for Morrow. Even though he's getting caught by BX, that another 2/10 in that sector. Oh, Tierney's been in the wars as well. So let's see what's going on at the back. We've got Capel ahead of Sanchez. These guys have made their mandatory pit stops. We've got Tidswell almost a lap down himself, almost 2 laps down, sorry, on Morrow. So he's having a terrible race. Going to be a long way back to go that far down, especially if he gets lapped by Morrow, which he might do. Morrow seems to have better pace than him today. Morrow 2.3 ahead of BX. So we found it even more time here. Steedstra ahead of Scanlon. Scanlon is carrying on, but now Andy is going to be wanting to get past him. So some people have already come in for their stops. Capel's still the lead driver who's made a pit stop. He was in the top 10 in qualifying. Who else is in the pits? Oh yeah. So these guys are going over a lap down now, the guys who are currently in the pits. It's a very, very long pit stop here. Paris better win. He's in P18. I don't think he's winning. Here comes Andy on Scanlon anyway. So yeah, you can see the rear of his car and the side of his car is looking pretty battered, and that must be what's costing him this time. Now Andy's past him. Peter's going to be the next one to catch him, but Peter across the last sector was 4.4 seconds down. And there's also Capel there who might try and unlap himself from Bomber, which would be a bit awkward for Bomber as well to negotiate. But yeah, you're probably just not in the pit window yet if you want to try and do the one stop especially. Right, let's stick with Scanlon. He's who's that ahead of him? Andy Winters is not actually getting away from him. So something's happened, and Bombers seems to have caught some extra pace. Coldman, what's happened to Coldman? Nothing. He's at the head of this pack with Salis that we saw him overtake. He's gapping him quite significantly now. But he's still got 12 seconds until the top 10. So he just needs to get his head down. I think a top 10 is still possible by the end of the race. Something's going to happen to one of these guys in the top 10 for sure. Maybe Scanlon's just doing pretty well in the slipstream as well to stay with him. And his car himself looks like it's just got some superficial damage on it. Some paint torn off. Peter's under pressure now. And Spectre making more pace through the field. Defending pretty well at the moment. Ah, right, okay. Let's try and find some action. Nothing's going on at the front. Let's have a little check-in. Oh, here we go. Salis and Cabras look like they're having a nice little battle. Cabras working his way up the field after a pretty poor qualifying by his standards. He seems to be a lot more comfortable in the dry conditions than the wet that we had in qualifying. As I say that, the track currently is at its fastest, but in half an hour, rain is coming, so that is going to spice things up. Everything you think you know about this race, just as it's going to start settling down, it's all going to be flipped on its head, and everyone who's outside the top 20 right now will be loving that. These guys probably won't have to make another pit stop. They can hang it out for another half hour until the rain comes down and then come in for new tyres better suited to the conditions. So it could work out pretty well for the likes of Capel, Dan and Sanchez. Capel is a lap down though. That's the problem that he's got. He's got cars coming up to lap him now as well behind. Let's see what the gap between Davey and BX is currently. BX is currently 2.3 behind Morrow. Still leaving Davey for dust though. Davey absolutely not able to keep up with this top two. Steenstra's just lapping pretty similarly to Davey here. A solid 5 seconds back consistently. Then we got Winters, who did get past Scanlon, had a great turn one compared to Scanlon. Scanlon all over the show on the exit there, losing a bit more time. Peter just ahead of Spectre as well. Is Spectre going to be able to finally get this position? He's pretty close in the slipstream. Not sure what would be quicker. Well, actually, you'd think it would be Peter's Mustang, but Spectre does have the slipstream to help him. As long as he nailed Eau Rouge and Radion. It looks like he's a bit too far back, potentially. Yeah, the slipstream just not strong enough there, despite the extended straight, for him to even think about a dummy move. BX closed the gap back down to 2 seconds. So there is a lot of back and forth between Morrow and BX, but Morrow just seems to have fewer mini errors in him, which makes sense because this is only BX's second race. He seems to be catching up. I think BX might actually have better pace. He does have the fastest lap. But yeah, he did go deep into the bus stop once, and I'm assuming something similar happened in one of the corners. He's been going wide because he's been pushing so hard as well. See how wide he goes there at that corner. He went very, very wide on a previous lap. Now he's under 2 seconds again for the first time in a couple of laps as well. Oh, it's all kicking off down here. So that's Peter just ahead. Actually, he's just been overtaken by Spectre. Cabras is in P7. Scanlon's still in P6, stuck behind Winters. There's a 7-second gap now. Not quite sure where that gap's come from. Freddie Cabras up ahead of Spectre. Peter down in P9. So things are not looking too good for Peter. A little bit of breathing space for Scanlon now to try and stick with Winters. But he's failing to do so. He's dropped over a second. Fair enough. Tidswell's out. He is in the pits. He's parked it up. He's too far back and he's not going to waste his time any longer. Which is, yeah, when you have that big of a setback at the start of the race, it does make sense. Freddie just ahead of Spectre. Peter's still close behind after getting overtaken as well. So Freddie making progress, got 7.8 off to Scanlon. Coldman has narrowed the gap to Regnix down by another 2 seconds. So he's only 10 seconds behind Reg. And Reg is at the back of this big train of cars as well. BX down to 1.8 seconds. Question is, who's going to be better in the rain? We've got drive-through penalty as well. So the first one, that's for Peter. That'll be for track limits as well. So that'll drop him out of the top 10, promote Coldman into the top 10. That'll be actually a bigger problem around here. We've still got an hour left. We normally only race for an hour, and one of our drivers already has drive-through penalty. Others will have warnings as well. And yeah, it's the longest possible version of this pit lane at this track, because you have to go into the pits before the start finish line and you only come out right before Eau Rouge, going incredibly slowly that entire time. So yeah, Peter might end up close to a well, at least half a lap down on the leader by the end of this. Anyway, Morrow carrying on, and the gap now is 1.6, so BX just eking out a tenth at a time. Got Davey 9 seconds behind now. Steenstra's completely dropped everyone behind him after, and stays for about 5 seconds behind Steenstra. Andy 2.2 behind him. Scanlon now 1.2, so he's dropped a little bit behind Winters. Scanlon's probably gonna fix his damage in the pits and then come out absolutely flying. Peter is serving his drive-through now, so in he comes. This isn't actually the pit lane for ACC, these are the F1 pits, so he's not even close to the pit exit yet. So that means Coldman goes through. Salis, who's completely dropped off the back of Coldman by 8 seconds since he got overtaken. He's still ahead of Cabras though, so I think it's safe to say that he's holding Cabras up a little bit here. Drizzle is in the next 10 minutes. Yep, you're right. It's going to be a wet finish to this race. Absolutely. So these guys should know that. Oh wow, what a power slide through Radion. That might open be what opens the door. But these guys are going to have to try and basically stick out on these tyres until that rain comes, and that'll be easier said than done for some of them. We have to see what. I think Salis might be really struggling on his tyres. Look at that. He's struggling to make these corners. Once the pressure is too far out, it does get a little bit like this. I think we could see the driver start to lose ground, maybe get caught by Burkhardt as well. Well, you said that, but Cabras is ahead of him now, literally as you press send, so... Never mind. Does he even have the pace for it, though? He's already about a second behind Cabras. Oh, I love it. That's like commentators' chat curse. BX has dropped to 1.8 behind Morrow now, so Morrow finding a bit more pace on this last lap. We are over a third of the way into the race. Sally's sticking with Cabras after that mistake, so I don't know what happened when he got overtaken, but he seems to have regained his composure. Maybe it wasn't an oh, is he just being let past? Or are these guys going side by side? Yeah, he's just being let, they just let him past again. Well, you're both losing time playing it this way, but... Now Cabras will be hounding Sally's to get past again, and it'll happen. Oh dear. Well, I guess you were right actually at the end. Look, they're side by side again. I don't think this is intentional. It's just they're making mistakes. Mind, he looked a little bit racy there, Andy Cabras, to try to get past. Right. What's going on up here? Freddy versus Spectre. Spectre's ahead going into the corner, and he gets that position off of... Actually, no, he keeps it. No, he gets it off of Cabras. Cabras was ahead of him, and he just lost it. So Spectre making more progress, but he's got 7.3 to Scanlon. Scanlon's still holding on, 1.8 behind Andy. So top 5 is still a very real possibility. Still waiting for this rain to come. It still says it's 10 minutes away. Come on. I want to see some carnage. I want to see someone who's like down in P25, P24, just come through and be leading because of absolute chaos. That's what I want to see. But as it stands, Morrow is just with 1.7 seconds, and him and BX have a huge lead. They'd have to have some really rotten luck with the timing of the rain coming down. Or decisions of when to pit, if you pit at all. When it rained in the last round, some drivers just didn't pit, they just stayed out as long as possible. And some drivers came in 5 or 6 times. I won't give you any prizes to guess which was the better strategy. So yeah, that's another thing, you're going to lose a crazy amount of time. But we do still have 55 minutes left of the race, so you can get that back. What we need to see is when the weather changes again on that little tracker at the top, is it going to still be saying rain in 30 minutes? Because if it's only going to be a short shower, is it even worth pitting or adjusting your car for the wet? I don't know, it's going to be a tough one. Still not here yet though. I wonder if ACC has any like system that randomizes the weather and there's actually a possibility that it won't actually hit the track. I think every time I've seen that icon it has always rained. So look at them going side by side again. I think they just want to give us a show, to be honest. They've dropped to 13 behind Coldman now, so they're definitely not going quick. Freivogel's going to catch them up. It's going to be an art 12, 11, 12 and 13 in formation here. Sally's still managing to stick ahead. Is that raindrops I see? Sally's completely getting over Radion wrong, loses that position. And yeah, I think it's going to start getting a little bit interesting now. I could have sworn I saw a couple of raindrops, but I don't see them anymore. It does change. Well, that's not what I like to hear. Alright, Sally's already getting caught by Freivogel now. Like I said, they were battling so much, Freivogel was catching them. Freivogel not having as good a race as we expect to see. He's definitely a top 6 driver. A couple of podiums, I think, this season as well. I think he won in one of the Monza races. Andy's caught up to the back of Davey. He's potentially lost that position. Is that Andy in front of him? It is indeed. Davey's been in the wall. Remember he was about 10 seconds off the back of BX. He's lost a whole chunk of time there because BX and Morrow are already going towards Eau Rouge, and Davey is coming into the pits just as the rain is forecast to start coming down. He's going to have to fix his engine, and he's going to have to decide what he's going to do about his car. Is he going to put on a wet setup for when he goes back out? He's going to stay on the dry. I think you have to go for the risky gamble, and even if it's not raining when you first come out the pits, he's going to be in the pits for a while though. That's the thing, if he's fixing that damage. Oh dear. 1 second. Ugh. Track's gone green, so it might be raining. Okay. Let me just reconnect my controller. So, you think it's raining. The track is still pretty cold. It's 10 degrees at the moment. That's nothing new. Here's Morrow. He's got BX Royal right behind him, so he's starting to make mistakes. The rain must be coming down. Here we can see it now. We can finally see some of the rain coming down. It looked fairly heavy as well. So what are these guys going to do? Davey might have coincidentally crashed at the perfect time for damage limitation if he got the call right. BX definitely feeling more comfortable on track right now compared to Morrow. I remember these were the conditions that Scanlon had unreal pace a few weeks ago in the charity race as well. So he's in P5 at the moment. Don't rule him out. Are we going to see an overtake for the lead into the bus stop? Are we going to see either of them come into the pits? Into the pits is Freivogel. Morrow comes in, BX stays out. So an interesting divergence of strategies between the two of them. Steenstra, let's see what Steenstra does. He's up into P3 now, an incredible race so far for him. Not put a foot wrong. He's currently in the podium positions, and he's carrying on. Andy Winters goes into the pits. Scanlon is carrying on. I think if I was on track right now, I would be copying whatever Scanlon was doing, because he just seems to know the wet conditions incredibly well. Spectre carries on. Cabras decides to pit. Reg carries on. Coldman goes into the wall. Wow, that's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage on Spectre, so there is your sign that it's incredible on Slim. Sorry, there's your sign that it is incredibly wet. He still carries on. You can't carry on with. Oh, he's learning the hard way. Andy Cabras comes in. Is this an ART strategy? Salis, I don't know where Freivogel's gone. Freivogel's actually came into the pits on the previous lap, so he's gambled. We got Davey out in P19. He's the lead driver who's come into the pits. Then we have Burkhardt and Freivogel in 2020, and Burkhardt and Capel. Freivogel's come out behind Capel there. So where is Morrow going to come out in regards to Davey? I think he's going to be a mile ahead of him, to be honest. Looks like he's off and away. Yep, they goes through each other, which is fine. BX is struggling a little bit by the looks of it, but he's still taking some of the curves. He's gone very wide around there, still taking maximum curve on the exit, and his car's not spinning. So it's not that wet that you can't cope on the track at all. Morrow is finally out of the pits. Let's see where he's come out. He's ahead of car number 27. That's Peter. So he's out in 14th place. Well, let's see. It might actually be 11th because some of the other drivers had pit as well. So what's his lead to Andy Winters? Andy's a mile behind. So Morrow is looking super comfortable here. I have a feeling he's got it right with the strategy. BX has stayed out again. So if BX just decides he's not coming into the pits at all, that could work out. The track is currently greasy, so it's not like impossible for these guys. It's just really slippery for them, so they can cope with the state of the track at the moment. None of these guys have come into the pits yet. Let's see if Regnix comes in. No, he carries on. Not sure what Coldman's up to. He is all out on his own on track. Look at the damage on that Mustang. This is where he lost it on the last lap. Goes very wide again, but obviously is a bit more careful. Is he gonna box this lap? There's still a mandatory pit stop for everyone to do. We're about halfway through the race, so why not? But he does carry on. Salis up into P7 now, and Weston's up into 8th. We haven't seen him at all in this race, so he's gone for a riskier stay out and see kind of strategy. Salis carries on. I am interested in seeing what's about to happen between Maurer and Morrow. Battling for position on track, Morrow coming in, Maurer opting to stay out in the BMW. 1.8 ahead at the moment. Is he going to start holding up Morrow? Well, Morrow's actually potentially holding up Peter a little bit here. Peter still hasn't pit. Morrow is 1.9 behind Maurer. Coming under pressure now from Peter into turn 1. Is Peter going to send it? He does. And they're going side by side through turn 1. And a great exit from Morrow allows him to get comfortably ahead of Peter. But this is not good news for Morrow if he's wanting to win this race. He's going to come under pressure potentially again from the Mustang, who completely cuts Radion. You need to be careful of doing that. That is where you get your drive-through penalties. Peter knows. He's already served one, I think. Yeah, it was him. Oh, Morrow's gone completely deep there. He's had to completely back out as well. Lost that position to Peter. He's struggling after his pit stop. It seems like even though he's stopped, put on fresh tyres, not feeling as comfortable. Definitely not enjoying this wet weather. And look, it doesn't look like it is going to stop raining for the next 30 minutes. Yeah, I'd say things are looking fairly good for BX Royal right now. Scanlon back into the podium positions as well. Bit of a battered car. 2 seconds now behind Steenstra. Like we said, he does enjoy the rain. He's reeling Steenstra in massively now. Halfway through the race officially, but a lot of drivers still haven't made the pit stop. Davey down in P18, by the way. He's dropped positions on track to Andy Winters and Freddie Cabras because of that incident where he had to fix his damage. Morrow 3.7 behind Peter as well. What is going on here? Answers on a postcard. He's almost 4 seconds behind the guy who just overtook him a few corners ago. Is Coldman coming in yet? No, he's carried on for another lap. As has Weston. Looks like one of the drivers a lap down is coming in. Peter's carrying on. Morrow, let's see if he's managed to catch up any time in this final sector. Mauer's one of the front runners to come in. Morrow 4 seconds down now. Fracas up into P13, good to see. That he's currently the leader in class now. Burkhart's made his pit stop. Actually, who's the leader of the bronze guys who've made their stops now? It is Burkhart ahead of Bayliss, Druid, Sanchez, and where's Van Hall? Hasn't pit, but he's in 17th. So yeah, we gotta wait to see when he pits. He needs to be staying out as long as he possibly can, I think, to avoid coming out into traffic that he has to get out the way for. What's Morrow up to? He's got a driver behind him who's a lap down. He's got loads of clean air in front of him. He's actually gained 1.1 seconds on Peter. So he may be feeling a little bit more comfortable now. Van Hall in the pits, Maurer in the pits still hasn't come out yet. He's only just come to a stop, I think. O'Leary on his comeback in the Lambo is in the top 15. Make that top 14. BX with a 27-second lead at the moment. I think someone just reset to pits right next to him. Let's see. I'm not sure who that was. Someone definitely just reset to pits. So at the moment, I'd say BX potentially is the favourite to win. He's obviously enjoying these conditions, didn't feel the need to make a pit stop at all. This is the thing with ACC, you can stay out when it's raining this hard, if you know what you're doing. And the top 10 all seem to think that. Steenstra and Spectre in the pits to make their pit stops. So these are coordinated pit stops, obviously. They'll be out of fuel at this point. They will have put in just over half the race's worth of fuel. What about Coldman? Carrying on for another lap with his battered car. Hopefully he fixes that, but he will lose a lot of time fixing it as well. Andy looking pretty comfortable. Net P2, even though it's not net P2, it's P2 of the guys who've pit. I started to lose my voice now. Anything going on a bit further down? Some of these guys are multiple laps down now. Freivogel down in 24th, Paris down in 26th. And then it looks like a few people are in the pits, potentially giving up. I don't know. Potentially making multiple trips to the pits. I'm not sure. Out comes Steenstra, it looks like. Morrow is ahead of him. Not a surprise. I think so. I think I'm doing comms next season. I'm penciled in for it. Right, let's see how fast Steenstra is off Morrow. 15 seconds is the gap. So remember, Steenstra is was P3 coming into the pits. He's 15 seconds off Morrow. I don't think the gap was that much. Here is BX in the pits now. Finally, after such a long time, because he's out of fuel, did really well sticking it out on these used tyres, and yeah, minimised his mistakes. Stretched a 17-second lead on Scanlon, who we know is insane in the wet. He stayed out for even longer. Reg has come into the pits. So it's only Scanlon, really. Let's see if Coleman and Salis can stay out any longer. Again, very wide. That's just his racing line, I suppose, at this point. And he carries on again. What about Salis? All the ART boys seem to have come in early, apart from Salis, so he's trying something different. Bucking the trend. Right, now, let's see. Morrow is just coming up to the bus stop now. Scanlon has carried on. BX is still stationary in the pit box here. He doesn't have to do much apart from the standard stuff. It doesn't look like he has any damage. Has Sanchez put on wets yet? Van Hall's in a good position to take bronze. Let's have a look at that straight after we see what happens with Morrow. He's just coming through turn 1 now. BX on his way out of the pits. He's going through Eau Rouge and Radion, but remember, he's very, very slow through here, and it's a bit of an awkward turning there, but it looks like he is comfortably ahead of Morrow. Morrow is just coming through Eau Rouge and Radion now. He's just overtaking Reg. Is that Reg? I can't see who that is. Oh, that's Peter. He's just overtaking Peter as well. That's not for position. I think Peter's come in the pits and he's a lap down now. So BX with a 5.2 second lead by extending. Takes the lead of the net lead of the race, but he had a 17-second lead on Scanlon. Now he just needs to get to grips with the new changes that he's made to his car, the changes that he's made with the tyres, and try to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. 5.2 seconds is a nice cushion in order to do that, though. We might be on for a first ACC win for BX Royal. Oh, is he going to spin it? He keeps it going somehow. That is going to be a lot of time lost trying to attack it like he was on his previous tyres, but these will be behaving a little bit differently there. So let's see what the gap has reduced down to. Scanlon finally in the pits now as well. So remember, he was battling with Steenstra. Race for P3. 4.7. He actually only lost half a second despite all that. So Morrow's not been doing too good himself in these conditions. So after everyone's pit, Frackers is actually leading bronze. Ahead of Burkhardt, who I think has just reset to the pits. So he's going to lose P2. Bayliss P3, then Chaos is all over the show on the grass. Ooh, there he is. Down in 23rd, Freivogel. Then we have Sanchez, who is quite a few positions behind Van Hall. Van Hall's in 21st. So it is looking like Van Hall might actually take bronze. Very nice. So Morrow's had a mistake. Look how far behind BX. BX has passed Eau Rouge and Radion. He's on the back straight. Morrow's definitely made a mistake somewhere. He's only 3 seconds ahead of Steenstra now. So Scanlon might be in for a P2 here. Potentially, this championship isn't over. Morrow is really struggling. So remember, he was 4.8 seconds behind BX. Let's see what it ends up looking like. 16 and a half. He's lost 12 seconds to BX on that last lap. Scanlon's out. He's just coming out of the pits now. So he's... where's Steenstra on the minimap? Steenstra's way ahead of him. He was behind Andy Winters for much of that stint. And he's going to stay behind Andy. He's fallen behind Cabaras, Spectre, Reg as well. So he's going to be in P9 now. So I think that's going to be a tough one for his championship hopes. Coldman's still out. He's leading the race. Our current GT7 Tier 1 champion. With that battered car, he's only 5 seconds ahead of BX, and his car's completely ruined. So he's done well to keep it out this long, but he must be about to run out of fuel, surely. 5 seconds is the gap now. This is going to be a massive win for BX. 18 seconds is the gap between him and Morrow. Round the final corner, and let's see what the gap between him and Coleman looks like, because Coleman stayed out incredibly for an extra lap here. Oh no, he hasn't. He's come in the pits. Never mind. We'll not see what that gap was. Coleman had 23 seconds on Morrow. I think Coleman was trying to get into the top 10. I think he could. Davy's down in 10th as well. So Davy and Scanlon, our two championship contenders, P9 and P10, not looking like they have done in previous races this season. Both of them dropped back a lot. You're not expecting them to be behind Reg and Spectre and Andy Winters too often in this season. Coleman not actually pulled up to his pit box yet. And through will go Andy. Let's see, what is there any battling going on? I know we're an hour in, but some guys must be close together. Dandis and Salis, the battle for P2 in silver. Only 2 seconds apart. It's looking fairly comfortable there for Dandis as it stands, but Sally seemed to have the pace on his class in qualifying, so he could potentially close the gap. Let's see what happens for Coldman. He's still stationary in the pits, so he's dropping like a stone. Is he going to still be in the top 10? That's the question. P11 at the moment is Andy Cabras. He's not fixed his damage when he went in the pits. I think Slim is going to have to fix his damage, and that's why he's going to potentially be dropping outside the top 10. His name hasn't lit up with a little green rectangle next to it yet, so he's still getting work done on his car. He had a 68-second lead on Davy coming into the pits, and Davy's already ahead. He's still in the pits as well. Andy Cabras is ahead of him. Dandes is going to be ahead of him, as is Salis, as we saw. He might be ahead of Weston, depending on how much longer. This is excruciating for him. He's finally coming out of the pits. Let's ride on board with Coldman. It says he's currently in 11th. It's not going to be that. It's going to be probably 13th. So out he comes. That was Weston just overtaking him through Oruz and Rajon right in front of him there. So he is out in 14th. He lost 120-ish seconds in that pit stop. What happened to Davy? He did a boo-boo and had a lot of time to fix his damage. Here we go. Battle for P2's hotting up. So Morrow 20 seconds now off of the back of BX. He absolutely has lost all of his pace. Steenstra is sniffing up his bumper now, only 0.6 of a second behind. We're going to see a good battle for P2 here. Again, if I was Morrow, I'd just give up the position. I need to just finish ahead of the two people who are in P9 and P8. He doesn't want to be battling too hard against this guy who's trying to get his best result of the season, Steenstra. On a double points race as well, that would catapult him up, and Morrow really struggling to take the corner, almost losing it. Saved it. Morrow spun in front of you. That must have been what I missed then. When he dropped from about 4 seconds behind, and now he's 21 seconds behind. So that'll mostly be because of that spin. Struggling since he came into the pits then. He might be on dry tyres. Well, it says in half an hour it's going to be dry. But currently the track's damp and we've only got half an hour left of the race. So if he's gambled on that, I'm not sure that was the right idea. And yeah, I think he might be lucky to end the race without any more spins. So if that is the case, I'm definitely letting Steenstra through. He seems to have good pace compared to Andy. They are still gapping Andy in P4. Yeah, I think he underfueled as well. I think a lot of them underfueled and it bit them a little bit because the rain came at an awkward time. Oh, he's nearly lost it again. Surely Steestra's going through now. That looks like a great corner for Steestra, and that is the easiest position that you're probably going to overtake that you're going to get on Morrow. Unless Morrow thinks about coming back. He is keeping it pretty nice and tight through the tricky section. Sure, I would have thought a drier strategy wouldn't allow him to do. But yeah, look at the difference in pace though. Steestra has just comfortably gapped him already. So Steestra went from 3/10 behind to 7/10 ahead of him in that one sector. And then the gap was around 14 seconds between Morrow and Winters. So let's see what this ends up shaking out to be. Up to 15. So even with all that battling, Andy is struggling. He might actually get caught by Freddy here. Freddy's now only 2 seconds behind him. Spectre's starting to catch up as well. Reg is starting to catch up. Then there's quite a big gap back to Scanlon, who we've seen have his own issues today. So let's stick with this. Is Morrow going to be able to mount a comeback? The jury's out. The jury's out. What's going on a bit further down? Looks like Blocker's out of the pit, but he's multiple laps down. Dan's down in P24, but he is out. Bailey's coming out as well. These guys have been in the wars quite a lot, you can tell. There's Sanchez, so he's over there. Now let's see where Van Hall is. Van Hall is at least almost a lap up on Sanchez in the battle for silver, so something would have to go very wrong for him to lose the championship at this stage. Less than a third of the race left as well. It's having a really good season for Van Hall. Nice to see, nice to see. Morrow's keeping Steenstra honest since he got overtaken. So potentially, as the headlights came on there, I wonder if that was automatic and it's just got a bit darker, potentially. Yeah, he's dropped to 1.3 behind. But this could start coming back tomorrow, if you're right, and the strategy is that he is on a drier setup than Steenstra and BX are. Although I just think BX loves the weather. He showed this kind of pace last week, but he did have an incident because he didn't qualify as high as he did this week. Had to battle his way through the pack. I think he was down in like 25th or something at one point, and ended up doing incredibly well. But this time he's been able to do that, but from the front. Now he's got a 21-second lead at the front. He's in a class of his own in this race. It was a good close battle between him and Morrow before the rain came, and then after the rain, it's just been one-way traffic. He's built a 21-second lead, so he could still afford to have a bit of a mistake and still be alright. And he's on for one of his best results for the season in P4. He's got 26 seconds to keep that, but like I said, he is getting caught by Cabras and Spectre, who is right behind Cabras now. Which, yeah, Freddy's going to want Spectre to not put too much pressure on him, so that they can actually work together and get Andy Winters, who they both appear to be quicker than. And Reg, who's only a second back as well. Sanchez has been first in bronze in 6 of the 7 races, and will finish second. He must have finished really badly in that other race then. So Freddy, under a lot of pressure, actually cuts the corner. He's going to lose those positions as well. So there goes Spectre, who's just going to take that position. Actually, he's fighting it pretty well. I'm going to be a bit surprised if he keeps that position, because he must have lost time going around that corner. I mean, gained time. in order to avoid getting overtaken. So if I was Spectre, I'd be a little bit pissed off at that. Be on the road, the radio to race engineer, be like, leaving the track and gaining an advantage, come on. But he's going to get him now, a little bit wide there for Cabras, and Spectre's just going to ease it through and take P5. He's in the top 5 now. First time since potentially the beginning of last season that Spectre's going to get a really top result. So it's nice to see. You love it when these gold drivers just remind you exactly why they're gold drivers as well. Oh, Sanchez missed a round. Oh, well. Okay. I see. If you miss a round, especially when you look at how few bronze and how few silver drivers are, and they're going to get top points even if they have an absolute nightmare of a race, you just, yeah, you're never going to win if you're scoring a big fat 0. So yeah, it's a tough old slog if you're in the silver and bronze, because that you do literally have to turn up every race or you won't win the championship by the looks of it. But he's done insane to even be in the hunt, and still a long way to go. Still a long way to go. And that's what Andy will be thinking, because he's got 23 minutes left and he's got 4 cars starting to queue up behind him. The rain looks a little bit heavier than it was before as well. Oh, yeah, a little bit dodgy on the exit. Here comes Spectre. So this is going to be another position for Spectre. He's only just taken P5. Oh, penalty points. I never look at who gets penalty points, actually. Maybe I should start doing that. I just can't be asked to click on the sim grid to see what the standings are. I want it right in front of me. Right, Andy's looking pretty composed through the straight, so he is defending the inside, and is he going to be able to keep it? Spectre's gone across, and he rejoins just like we saw Freddie Cabras do the previous lap, but he doesn't lose a position, he doesn't gain a position from it, so the battle can continue. They have dropped 17 seconds off the back of Morrow. Morrow's now 4.2 off the back of Steenstra as well, by the way. So, oh, a bit of a dodgy edge exit there from Spectre. He's going to lose that position to Cabras now. So, Spectre down to P6. Oh, Cabras is just going to gift it back to him. He goes a little bit wide there. They're going to be side by side into the next corner, but Spectre's just ahead. He's going to turn the outside into the inside. Regnate's going to try and follow through. And he can't do it yet. And Cabras with a really late move there. And there's big contact between the two of them as a result of that. We're going to have to get going. That's great news for Reg. He's up into P5 all of a sudden. Scanlon's up into P6 after falling back. These guys, Spectre still... He was on for a P4 potentially there. He's going to be gutted with that. Capel goes through to unlap himself because he's down in 18th. Davy's a little bit too far back to take advantage of that, but it does get him a bit closer. So there's Spectre and there's Cabras down in 7th and 8th now. And probably with a bit of damage. What's the gap at the front? How's BX doing? 28 laps in. We have to wait an eternity for the next driver to actually... There we go, 25 seconds is the gap between him and Steenstra. Morrow's going to cross and he's going to be 6 seconds further back. Really struggling. But with a huge gap down to Winters, he just has to focus on keeping it on track for the rest of the race and he'll be golden. Now here comes Reg and Scanlon. Reg might let Scanlon through here. Not yet though, he's not actually that close. Oh, he has actually let him through. Okay. So Scanlon in 5th all of a sudden. The opportunity for him to win has increased very slightly if Morrow has a mare, but he's got to somehow catch BX. So sliver of hope, like 0.01% of a chance. And Moro has a 99% chance of winning, I think. Let's see what's happening in silver. Dandes is half a second ahead of Salis in the battle for the win in silver. Three Ferraris in the top three for silver as well. Not too much of a surprise. Yep, some pretty composed driving here. And he's in the top 10 as well, so we do have a silver driver in the top 10. I think a lot's going to change between now and the end, though. Right, not much happening, but this guy is defending pretty solidly here. Salis definitely has the pace on him, which we've kind of seen all season. And remember, like we were saying, Salis was the quickest out of the silver drivers in the wet. Cabras doing really good in the dry, but has lost a lot of time on these two since the rain started coming down. Noah Rotikos tonight as well, who's usually up there with the silver guys. Don't know if he's going to be gold or silver next season. Oh yeah, what I was going to say, we'll have to wait and see what we actually do with the grids. Are we going to run 2 grids and do 2 separate tiers? Because we kind of have enough drivers for it, especially if we can recruit a few more in the off season. So I'm not sure if that's an option or not, but if it is, that'd be pretty good for ALR. And also, it would give a lot of these guys the chance to actually fight for the win for the very, very first time since racing at ACC, which also I think would be a good thing, and it would improve them as drivers as well. So hopefully something like that ends up happening. Coldman trying to recover. Remember, he came out of the pits, I think he came out in P14, so he's up into 13th now. He's ahead of Weston, 3 seconds off of Andy Cabras, who, like we said, doesn't seem to be enjoying the rain too much. Potentially is doing the same thing as Moro and is on the wrong kind of setup for it. Moro dropping to 11 seconds off of Steenstra. That would make sense. They are ART teammates, so I do assume that they all share strategies because they all drive the exact same car. Oh, look at the power slide through there. Looks like the car behind got it slightly more wrong. Let's see how Scanlon copes with it. Looks like he might have fixed the damage that he had. It's looking like a very clean car anyway. Winter's coming through just ahead of Reg. Reg trying to finish in the top 5, and Winter's giving him a run for his money for it. So remember, Reg was just behind Scanlon, so Reg had a mistake somewhere clearly, because he's dropped quite a bit away behind Scanlon and lost that position to Andy Winters. So Andy back into the top 5, really positive for him. What's Cabras doing? Remember, he had his own incident with Spectre here. Spectre's car's very badly damaged, came off much worse than Freddy's did. And now he's got Davey behind him trying to get at least another position here. Remember, this is double points. This is quite damaging for Davey compared to his normal pace, because it counts as 2 P9s, not just 1 P9. I think this is going to be a nice little battle down Eau Rouge and Radio. Are you going to be able to take those corners as quick as you normally would when you've got a front end that looks like that? What about Winters? He's pretty close. He didn't manage to get past Reg. So let's see what this looks like. Spectre's had some great pace today. So it's a shame he's down in 8th, but still a top 10 will be a good result for him. if he can keep hold of it. Starting with this challenge from Davey. Davey's definitely got the speed on him. That is the damage coming into play here. Not able to pull up alongside, just didn't get a good enough run. Oh, there's been a massive crash. They've just all crashed into somebody. It looked like a span car. So Davey's involved in that. Spectre's involved in his second accident in about 3 laps. Car number 8, that's Capale. Oh no, it's not. That wasn't car number 8. That was car number 83. Who is 83? That's Van Hall, our bronze leader, seemed to be involved in all that as well. 227. Who's that? That was Breivogel. Was in there as well. Oh dear. And look at this. Davey going side by side with someone into this corner. It's not Spectre. Spectre's behind him. So who is this guy in the black? It is car number 777. Who is that? Bayliss involved in that as well. So a lot of people involved in that. Some of them actually look like the cars aren't as badly damaged as they should be. I'm not sure where that leaves Van Hall, but he's only 1 position ahead of Sanchez as it stands. So there's Van Hall. Sanchez, actually, I think, well, he's 83 seconds behind. With 13 minutes to go. Does Van Hall have damage? And that happened, that split came before the incident. So let's see how much time Van Hall's actually going to be losing to Sanchez here. Sanchez has a long way to go in the sector, but it could be... yeah, it could be on. Like I said, whoever wins out of these two wins the championship. Unless there's penalty points applied. Potentially. Scanlon's taken nearly 3 seconds off Morrow in 2 sectors. Well, yeah, it makes sense because, well, actually, he could get P3 as well. Morrow's 17 seconds off of Steamster now. Absolute disaster class in this second half of the race for Morrow, but he is still in P3. So through comes Sanchez. Let's see what this ends up looking at. It was 83 seconds. It's not going to tell us now. Unfortunately, that sector was too long and the driver in front is already past the next sector, so it's not going to tell us that. We might see it in a lap and a half. Let's see what's going on with Scanlon. He is 4.1 behind Morrow, but he's got some cars. Well, there's Morrow actually. Morrow's just been unlapped by car number 23. Now, right behind him is Scanlon, so he's completely lost at sea here. He's going to lose the position. So all that needs to happen for Scanlon to win the title is for Morrow to lose a couple more positions. For Steestra and BX to, I don't know, come into the pits or something. Park up on the track and have a little picnic in the rain. And then he can win the championship. Oh, there's contacts between them! Oh, dear. So Scanlon gets the position. Oh dear, Morrow's still spinning it around, so yeah, just really not enjoying the wet. I think he could have afforded Scanlon a little bit more room there. I think that was a little bit self-inflicted. He's lost the position to Reg as well. But it's still looking good for Morrow. He could have won this race if it didn't rain. He's down in 5th. His car is very battered. Let's see. Okay, we've got a 55-second gap. So Van Hall lost 30 seconds in that incident on the previous lap. It's probably still not enough. The track's greasy now, so it's not damp. It is improving. I don't know if that's going to help anyone, but it does mean that they can start pushing a little bit quicker. Now, Morrow's only got a 2-second lead on Andy Winters. He's about to lose another position here. And it's starting to get into murky territories with what this means with the championship, because I don't really know. I think it still doesn't matter, because Scanlon's only P3. So So we are still potentially looking at our champion defending his title, despite this being not the ideal way to do it. Andy will be wondering, like, what the hell's happened here? This guy was leading. I'm sure he had like at least 20 seconds on Andy Winters at one point, potentially more than that. Yeah, really interesting result. We got Coldman back in the top 10. Salis is up in 9th in silver as well, so he did get past Dandes in the end and gapped him massively. Scanlon 20 seconds behind Steenstra. BX completed 33 laps now. He's got maybe 4 or 5 left in him. Andy not really closing the gap. I think we might end this race with it not raining, but it's gonna stop raining too late to create any pit stop scenarios. But oh, here we go. Here he comes. He's going to try it around the outside into the bus stop. Can you get it stopped in time? That's the question. He does. He gets it stopped. Andy nails the apex. So top 5 for Andy. Morrow down to 6th with a 14-second gap down to one of his teammates, Freddie. What was happening there with Morrow? He was just going back on the racing line. I thought he nearly was going to lose it, but it was actually a great exit from the corner. Okay, let's have a quick look further down. Gap between Sanchez and Van Hall's reduced by another at least 5 seconds there. Now it's down to 25. I think it was 8 seconds that it's been reduced. So Van Hall looks like he had to get out of the way of 4 drivers who put a lap on him. And that is probably the reason why Sanchez isn't going to have to be lapped anytime soon. Actually, he's potentially going to unlap himself from Maurer before the end of the race. He seems to be lapping very quickly. It's just a shame he's been in the wars because it's another solid performance. Speaking of solid, we've not really spent much time on... Oh, who's number 83? Van Hall has brought out the yellow flags and he span it completely the wrong way around. Is this what is going to cost him the bronze title? He had a 25-second lead and Sanchez is right here. He's just blown a 25-second lead. Sanchez is absolutely on fire. We're going to see, in the last 7 minutes, a battle for one of our championships here. It looks pretty much done and dusted for Morrow and for Andy Cabras. But there's 3 seconds separating Sanchez and the championship. After winning 6 of the 7 races, he might make it 7 out of 8. Van Hall really struggling at this stage. The gap's narrowed down to just 0.4 of a second now. I think we might see an overtake at the end of the first sector. This is a Ferrari, which looks a little bit battered, versus a McLaren, which looks pretty clean, pretty neat and tidy. It's not really an indication of pace here or speed, but it does show who's been in the wars and who hasn't, at least in this second half of the race. Now here we go. I think Van Hall's car is definitely badly damaged because this looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward overtake. They are drag racing down and Sanchez gets the position, brakes in plenty of time, and is that the overtake that is going to seal the title for him? I think it is, you know. But now he's going to have 5 minutes of immense pressure that he probably hasn't felt this season. Your mind starts to wander when you're in this position. You're thinking about what you're going to say after the race, what you're going to do, how you're going to celebrate, and then all of a sudden it could be over in a flash. There's another bit of contact. Who's car number 77? That is Andy Cabras, who's completely span it round, and Dandes as well. So those two have been in the wars here. They've been overtaken by Weston. And Maurer might get both of them as well. So this might be another couple of positions, might be a top 12 finish for Maurer at the end of this race. Well, it says he's 18 seconds behind Cabras, but there's Cabras right in front of him. So that's how much time he's lost with that issue. Car number 83 is Van Hall. He's reset to pits. It's over. It's over. So, congrats to Sanchez. Van Hall made another mistake there. He brought out the yellow flags and then he reset to pits by the time that we took a look at him. That's a massive shame. Not really the way that you want to lose the championship. But, yeah, I've been there. I was net winning bronze in Spa, and then I started spinning loads. I've absolutely been in that exact same position. I also reset to pits for the last, like, 5-6 minutes. I was like, I'm not going back out there. No chance. I'd already lost it. Coleman putting a lot of pressure under Salis wants this last position to get into the single digits. So Maura is past Cabras. Maura's up into 13th. Dandes is only 6 seconds ahead of him. Dandes had his own issues with Cabras there. Only got 4 minutes left. BX Royal, by the way, winning this race, in case you're just joining us, by an absolutely enormous margin. So big that they're not going to show us what it is. I'm going to say 30-ish seconds. He was second in qualifying. Then his pace was electric in the opening of the race. Mora was ahead of him, but BX had the pace, just kept making slight mistakes, like going a bit too deep in some corners, losing a second here and there, having to gain that time back. And then it started raining, and it's been a completely different story. 38 seconds is the lead he's built on everybody. So yeah, enjoy BX Royal, guys, because he's going to be winning the championship quite comfortably next season if he signs up as full-timer. The pace is going to get a little bit more sweaty in ACC. Morrow's still only 4.8 behind Andy. The rain has stopped, so this might start swinging slightly back into Morrow's favour. Oh no, it's still raining. Never mind. Only a little bit though. It looks like light rain. But yeah, we did wonder if the rain would completely stop before the end, and it hasn't. So unfortunate. Unfortunate. What's Paris up to? We've seen him in the walls a lot. Who's car number 95? That's Caldman Spanit at the bus stop. He's going to carry on, but he's no longer battling with Salis anymore. He's going to have to settle for that P10. Dropped to 7 seconds behind now. So that's how much that little spin cost him. What's going on over here? Andy Winter's putting a lap on a car. Got Capale right behind him, but he's a lap down in P17. Car number 83 struggling somewhere. Who's that? I'm sure I've seen that number a few times. Oh, it's Van Hall again. It was letting a car past him though. I think he was just letting a car lap him. So he is down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in class. So he did end up coming out of the pits again. I thought he'd just quit. But he is carrying on. He wants to get at least some extra points, maybe wrap up P2 in the standings. Or maybe Sanchez has a problem himself, you never know. Probably not though. 1 minute to go. We're on the last lap for most of these guys. BX is probably on his last lap. Maybe he can squeeze one extra in. 35.5 points between Bomber and Morrow. Bomber's now taking 30 points off that. So a position change either way in the last few minutes would change the order. Really? Okay. So the pressure is on for Morrow. He has just started his final lap. He has to essentially avoid a mistake as well himself, or if Steedstra has a spin, it has stopped raining, so I don't see why it would. The track's still a little bit greasy. They just need to bring it home, essentially. It's looking unlikely, but you never know. Morrow's not going to be catching anybody. I know that for sure. Unless Reg, Andy, or Steenstra have a big mistake, or Scanlon himself has a big mistake. The sky pad. Yeah, this is going to be the last lap of the race, and BX is going to time it perfectly because he's just coming into the bus stop now. Or is it? It hasn't said it's his final lap. Yeah, he's finished. He's won. Congrats to BX. He's the first person to ever win GT7 Tier 1 race and an ACC Gold Class race. The first one, and I think that's going to be the first of many wins for BX because this gap that he's had in this victory has been ridiculous, I think it's fair to say. Steedstra's going to come and take his best result of the season, is in P2. I think he'll be really proud of that. On double points as well, he's going to really help his championship position at the end of the season here. Completely out of all the trouble. And yeah, couldn't have gone much better for him. Scanlon, in his championship battle, is going to come to an end with the podium. He's been up and down the order all race, but he wraps up a P3. Then we've got Morrow. Let's stick with him. He needs to make up a lot of time on Andy if he's going to be winning this championship in the last couple of corners. Regnix is through the final corner. Andy is coming up to the final corner, about 7 or 8, 9 seconds make that ahead of Morrow. Makes that corner pretty well. Now he just has to make the final hairpin, and this is going to be a top 5 for Andy, which I think he'll be pretty pleased with. And yep, not going to be enough for Morrow. Sorry, it is going to be enough for Morrow because he is our champion, our two-time champion. Had a pretty flawless season, really struggled in this race, but he kept it on track when it mattered most, and he wrapped up the points that he needed to win that championship. Not by much in the end. Potentially would have lost it without the disconnect for Scanlon as well last week, but that's the way it goes. Cabras P7, and Davey, our other championship challenger, is going to be one of the last people to cross the line in P8. And then obviously we have Andy Cabras and we have Sanchez wrapping up silver and bronze as well, so huge congrats to those guys. That looks like the end of it then. So a 39.4 second lead for BX after an hour and a half. Huge. Huge, huge, huge. Only 8 of them, sorry, finishing on the lead lap. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. We've got off-season now in ACC, but I'm sure there's some off-season events that you can sign up for, so keep an eye out for that, or ask one of the helpers how you can get involved if that's what you want. Sign-ups will be out soon in the calendar and all that good stuff, so yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Just because the season's over, it doesn't mean the action stops, but yeah, that's it from me, so yeah, whatever. Thanks.